Hey, Sleepers, before we get today's great debate started, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder that we're giving away a signed Antonio Brown jersey this summer, courtesy of pristineauction.com. Truly amazing website. They got daily auctions for any type of memorabilia you want, whether it be sports or music or movies or basically any type of memorabilia for anything that you like. It's all certified. It's all authentic. You don't get anything fake or imitated. To win this signed Antonio Brown jersey, go to iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, wherever it is that you listen to us. Give us a nice review, take a screenshot of the review, and email it to sleeperwire@gmail.com. And that's it. You're entered into the drawing for the signed Antonio Brown jersey. Then make sure to go check out pristineauction.com. That's PRISTINE auction.com.
I challenge you to a duel. It's the only argument I need.
I don't want to talk to you no more, you.
You got a lot of nerve.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated.
Stop defending him, Sean.
All right, let's go.
I'm ready for royalty. You are the pain.
Hey, Sleepers, and welcome to the SleeperWire Great Debate Show, where we do a fast debate between two players. I'm your host, Professor Chris, and with me for the second week in a row, Mike. What's going on tonight, man?
Not too much. Backed by popular demand, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we just such a huge request for Mike after last week. No, I'm looking forward to it. We got another good one for you. So for those of you listening for the first time, what we're doing here is having a debate-style argument between two players. So spend a few minutes arguing for our player. We get about 90 seconds for a rebuttal, and then we wrap it up with final thoughts on our player. So during the draft season, so what we're doing right now is we're talking about two players, same position, who are going similar rounds, so fairly close together, who we would rather draft on our team. This week we got a good one. We haven't done any tight ends yet, so I said, you know what? We've done running backs, we've done wide receivers for the first 6 of them. Let's do tight ends. So we've got Zach Ertz versus Kyle Rudolph. I've got Zach Ertz. Mike has Kyle Rudolph. And Mike, why don't you go ahead and kick things off for us? Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 2.5 minutes on the clock. Let's go.
Okay, what can you say about Kyle Rudolph except he's a beast? The man is a giant. 6'6", 275. And he's fast. He gets out of the pocket quick. He runs great routes, seamless routes. He can get open. And then you look at Minnesota, and he's the guy. There's really nobody else up there that can catch the ball the way he can, that can maneuver the way he can. And there's just not a target share out there besides it's all Zach Ertz. I mean, he went from 71 targets in 2015 to 132 targets last year. And what's going to change this year? Who does Minnesota have? Oh, they picked up Michael Floyd. What is he going to do? He's going to probably get another DUI while he's there. He's not even kind of dependable. And then you've got Adam Thielen. You got Stephon Diggs. I mean, those guys are good, but they're not as good as him. They're not the red zone target that this guy is. And he's only getting better. He's progressively gone higher in targets. Doubled his yardage. He hasn't really doubled his touchdowns in the past couple of years. He went from 5 to 7, right? But before that, he was racking in 2, 3. He had a year in there with 9. Kind of missed a couple of years in 2013, 2014. He didn't do as good, or he didn't do as good because he was injured. And so but last year, 16 games, 83 receptions, 132 targets, 132 targets. I cannot emphasize enough on how much of a target monster this guy is. And when you're looking in the red zone, who are you going to be looking for? A 6'6", almost 300-pound guy that can get open, has hands, proves the ability over and over again to catch the ball. He's your guy. He's the only guy that you can get in there. And at the value that you're picking him up at, to me, he's going to put up Gronk-style numbers this year because they're just, again, not the opportunity in there. And I think he's going to probably be a top 5 tight end, maybe top 3. He's the guy. I don't know. I picked him up last year on one of my fantasy leagues about halfway through the season. And he had a shaky game here or there, but we actually played all the way through week 17. So having him week 17 where he went 117 with a touch, that was a monster game for me, and that actually put me over the edge. So
All right, so some good thoughts on Kyle Rudolph. It's going to go ahead and get into my rebuttal here. So first, let me start out by saying that I really do like Kyle Rudolph, which is one of those things that makes these great debates fun. It's good to try and find the negative sides of players that you like because it gives you some perspective. Kyle Rudolph made a huge leap last year, going from the tight end 15 in the 2015 season to the tight end 2 in 2016, finishing only behind Travis Kelce. I will say this, Kyle Rudolph was pretty inconsistent last week. He had a lot of good weeks. I enjoyed having him on a roster or two, but it was good week, bad week, good week, bad week. It just wasn't, you couldn't rely on him as much as you would have liked to. One thing that's working against Rudolph is his quarterback. Sam Bradford just had the best completion history in NFL history. Completed 71% of his passes, 71.6% to be more specific, but for some reason, Rudolph only caught 62% of the passes thrown to him. Bradford obviously likes throwing it to Rudolph, as evidenced by his 132 total targets and 31 red zone targets, but Rudolph didn't catch as high a percentage of them as the wide receivers and Jerick McKinnon. Last year, McKinnon had 43 catches and 4 total touchdowns. Dalvin Cook is better than McKinnon in all facets of the game. I expect Cook to step into the starting role at some point, and he's likely going to put up at least 40 catches, if not more. But at the end of the day, like, that's all I've really got. There's not a whole lot of things you can say against Rudolph other than the inconsistency and the fact that he didn't catch as high of a percentage of passes thrown to him as the wide receivers. Our thoughts for and against Kyle Rudolph are done. Now we're going to move over into Zach Ertz. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in here. Zach Ertz, a third-year tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, has quietly been very good for fantasy. After finishing as the tight end 9 in 2015, Zach Ertz finished as the tight end 6 last season in PPR, and he didn't even play 2 games. He missed weeks 2 and 3 and still finished as the 6th best fantasy tight end. He had 78 catches on 106 targets, which is a 74% catch percentage, for 816 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ertz had 17 targets in the red zone, which led the Eagles last season. All 4 of his touchdowns came in the red zone, with 2 of them coming from inside the 10-yard line. Ertz caught 8 of those 17 red zone targets, good for 47.1%, which is actually pretty good for being in the red zone. One of the reasons that he didn't catch more, though, is that Carson Wentz wasn't super accurate last season. He threw the 5th most pass attempts in the NFL, which is pretty amazing for a rookie, but he just wasn't the most accurate as a rookie. The Eagles are definitely a passing team. Zach Ertz is still going to get his targets. There's no worry about that going down. This season, the Eagles have bolstered the offense by adding Alshon Jeffrey, who was the subject of last week's great debate when we did Alshon versus Allen Robinson, and Torrey Smith. However, neither of these guys are much of a threat. Just as Jordan Matthews isn't a great threat to Alshon, he's also not a threat to Zach Ertz. Ertz has built that chemistry with his quarterback. We talk about how young quarterbacks like to throw to tight ends. That's absolutely no different here. Wentz loves throwing it to Ertz. If anything, the addition of Alshon Jeffrey helps Zach Ertz, and it hurts Jordan Matthews. I don't think Alshon being there does anything to Zach Ertz. I think Ertz is still going to be a great tight end. Alshon is still going to be a great wide receiver, and it's just going to hurt Jordan Matthews a little bit. Fantasy-wise, because that's what we care about, Ertz had double-digit fantasy points in every game in which he had 4 or more catches, except for 1. He did have 6 dud games last season, but if you stuck with him, he was one of the reasons you got to your championship. 9 for 79 and a touchdown in Week 13, 10 for 112 in Week 14, 6 for 80 in Week 15. Week 16 was a dud, which is a bummer, but if your fantasy championship was Week 17, he went 13 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. He basically won you the championship that week if your championship was Week 17. After Week 8, so the second half of the season, he only had 2 duds. The rest were either solid or fantastic. Thoughts for Zach Ertz? Mike, why don't you give me your rebuttal here?
It kind of is bad because I'm going to come at the same approach as you did. I really like Zach Ertz this year, so it's really hard to debate against him. But at the same time, it is good to find those little holes that they might have. And the things that I don't like about Zach Ertz are pretty much the same things that I really like about Kyle Rudolph. He just doesn't get off the line as quick as a tight end, as a fast target would. He doesn't get out there. He doesn't run great routes. He takes a few steps to get moving. And when he does get open, when he does actually break out, he does pretty good, but he's not that good of a blocker. He's basically the same player, though. I mean, if you look at everything across the board, these guys are almost the same exact person as far as the stat line goes. He had a better catching percentage, but they almost had, they were about 100 yards off in receiving yards. So, I mean, it's the same person. So you got to take the little intricacies. And when you talk about the little things, and that's his getting off the line ability, getting open, and then you look at where he's at is in Philadelphia. And I'm going to dip into the same well there, too, and I'm going to say there are so many mouths to feed in Philadelphia right now that I just can't find him as reliable as I do, say, Kyle Rudolph. He is still a great option in that spot, but not as good. So you've got Alshon Jeffrey. He's going to be in there catching a lot of balls.
We're going to go ahead and move into our final thoughts. We're going to go back to Kyle Rudolph. Mike, give me your final thoughts on Kyle Rudolph.
Like I was saying right when the buzzer went off, I mean, these guys are almost the same exact person that we're arguing about right here. You've got a couple of years difference. You've got, Zach Ertz is a smaller target. That's the one thing you can also say about him. But Kyle Rudolph, he's just the only guy in Minnesota to me. Yes, Dalvin Cook, he'll get involved. But you've got a three-headed monster over there in Minnesota. And so, I mean, I just don't know. I think you're going to find a guy that can get open, get the ball, be reliable, and a lot of his catch percentage, I think, is you can blame on Sam Bradford. When they throw the ball at your feet or over your head, that still counts as a target. It still was towards you, although you couldn't catch it. So when you look at who his quarterback is, I really feel like Sam Bradford is a good NFL quarterback. I think he's going to develop into one of the better, not legendary by any means, but I think he's going to be a great quarterback by the end of it. And who's he going to take with him? Again, that's my only argument against Zach Ertz, because I do love Zach Ertz this year as well.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like both of these guys a lot. I find myself actually ending up with both of them in a lot of mocks. And historically, I've been you draft one tight end and then you stream them on bye weeks kind of guy. But where these guys are going, they're just the best options there, and I like both of these guys. But if I had to choose one, Ertz is the guy with the better quarterback, I believe, in a better offense, and he's going to get better quality targets. Also, taking into consideration that Rudolph is currently going at the 8.07 in a 12-team PPR, while Ertz is going at the 10.05. I'd rather take Ertz in the 10th, so full 2 rounds later, knowing that you're getting a guy who can put up monster weeks and finish close to the top 5, than Kyle Rudolph in the 8th. Both of these guys are great.
Yeah, and both are a great value, too. I mean, 8th round Kyle Rudolph, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, 8th round for the guy who finishes the tight end 2 last year.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Great Debate. A couple things before we go. I want to encourage you guys to go to SleeperWire.com and check out our weekly rankings. Submit a question to the SleeperWire crew. We promise to get back to you within 24 hours. We've got articles up now and more coming in every single week, so that's pretty great. You can follow us on Twitter at SleeperWire Show. I'm on there at CMOR SleeperWire, and Mike is on there at Dr. Kane21. Find us on SleeperBot at Professor Chris and Dr. Kane. I'm also on the Fantasy Life app at Professor Chris and on Instagram at Professor Chris SW. Lastly, I want to remind you guys about the reason why we do this. We do this for our buddy Rob, one of the SleeperWire guys who's been struggling with chronic Lyme disease for most of his life. We're doing this to help him get his money for his treatment, so if you can find it in your heart, there's a link on our website, SleeperWire.com. Go there and donate a couple bucks if you can. I know everyone would really appreciate it, but you're not donating just to donate. You're donating to get into the SleeperWire Pro Am this year, which is this huge league. It's a 2-league Pro Am that we've got going on. We've got plenty of podcasts and apps and writers. We got NFL's Marcus Grant, Dynasty Nerds, Jake Seeley, SleeperBot, Matt Harmon, Pony Cake Sports, the Fantasy Football Fellas, ESPN's 515 Fantasy Football, Eat Sleep Fantasy, Clock Dodgers, Dynasty Happy Hour, and the Fantasy Life. You can be a part of this league, and all you have to do is SleeperWire.com/ProAm, so PROAM, donate $10, and that gets you a raffle ticket. Every multiple of $10 gets you a raffle ticket. So if you donate $40, you get 4 raffle tickets, and that greatly increases your chance to be in this great league with all of these pros and have a good time this year. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.